Hello, everyone. This is Kelly with Two Broads Talking Politics, and I am here in this episode talking to three candidates for office in Ohio. As listeners know, I'm originally from Ohio, and I am very, very excited about the possibility of a blue wave in Ohio. So in this segment, I am here with Rick Neal, who is running in the Ohio 15th Congressional District.
Hi, Kelly. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, thanks so much for joining me. Could we start by having you give just a little spiel about your background and why you're running for Congress?
Sure. No, I'm really glad to, and I'm really glad to be here. It's great to be connected with you all. So I'm running because it is time to do better for everyone in the 15th district on a whole host of issues. You know, the big ones that I hear about all the time are better paying jobs and affordable health care and real solutions to the opioid crisis. Our current representative, Republican Steve Stivers, has really left us behind and is just not getting the job done. He completely takes the district for granted. He's not here. He's taken on a new job as the chair of the NRCC, which is the House Republican Fundraising Committee. Just to give you an example, yesterday, when these tariffs came through, yesterday and today, when the tariffs came through that are really going to hurt Ohio farmers, Representative Stivers is in California calling folks out there and trying to raise money to keep his Republican majority. And it's a shame. So I'm really glad to step up. It's kind of what I do. I was a Peace Corps volunteer right out of college, and that got me interested in public health. And, I just felt like I should try to go and work where the need was greatest. And so after getting a degree in public health, I went back overseas and worked with refugees in Asia and Africa for several years, running public health programs in refugee camps and in displaced communities. And after I left the field and was working in Washington as an advocate on humanitarian issues, I met my husband, Tom, who's from here in Columbus. And we moved here and settled down, and I became a stay-at-home dad, but was called back to service a few years ago during the Ebola outbreak. And, I was really alarmed at what was going on in West Africa and got back in touch with some of my old colleagues and ended up going to Liberia for a month. I wasn't able to go for a long time, but I was able to leave right away when people really needed help. So I was glad I was able to respond then. And then after the 2016 election, I was hoping that the new Congress that came in January 17, including my representative, Steve Stivers, was going to be able to find a way to stand up to what was happening in Washington and some of the chaos and the disruption. And he just didn't. I feel like not only has he been leaving us behind, but he really hasn't been standing up for us. So I figured 2018 is sort of an all hands on deck kind of year. And everyone's doing what they can to get our country back on the right track. And this is what I can do.
Great. And did I read somewhere that you went to Miami University in Ohio?
That's correct. I did. I got my undergraduate degree at Miami of Ohio in Oxford.
Ah, excellent. My brother and my sister-in-law went there, so I'm always on the lookout for Miami of Ohio people. So
there's a lot of us.
Yeah. And everyone seems to be still fairly close to Miami. That's great. So can you, since I just mentioned that it's not that far from Miami University, can you tell us a little bit about the 15th district? I was kind of surprised when I looked on Wikipedia and saw that it was more urban than I assumed that it was. So can you tell us a little bit about sort of where in Ohio it is and what the makeup of it is like?
The 15th district, it's a terrific district, and it covers a wide swath of South Central Ohio. Here in the Columbus area, it has little parts of Columbus, including the part of Columbus where I live and the German Village neighborhood just south of downtown. But then it covers the west and the southern parts of the county. And this is important because what we've seen in some of the elections since 2016, the regular elections and also the special elections, people have noticed that the districts that are trending Democratic are districts that are made up or include wealthier suburbs of Democratic cities. And that's what we have here in the 15th. Some, better off suburbs like Upper Arlington and Hilliard. These are the places that are trending Democratic, and that we think that trend is going to continue. And then throughout the rest of the district, we see a higher than average percentage of college educated folks. And so that those two things together really make people think that this district is more competitive than maybe it has been in the past. So the way that the district covers, it's those areas that I said in around Columbus on the west and south side, and then it covers parts or all of 11 other counties, going all the way down to Wilmington in the southwest on the way to Cincinnati, and down to Athens, where Ohio University is in the southeast, and covering a wide range of all the way from some very sparsely populated rural counties like Perry and Morgan and Vinton to towns like Lancaster in Fairfield County and Logan and Hocking County and Wilmington, like I said, in Clinton County, and then university town like Athens. So it's real. It's a real broad range.
That is. And, if you take sort of a broad view of the district, it looks relatively normal shaped. But if you zoom in a little bit, it does look a little bit strange there around Columbus.
Right, you're right. When you zoom in, the gerrymandering becomes clear. And Representative Stivers admitted as much, in an interview that he gave a month or so ago. He was being pressed. How is he going to keep his Republican majority in Congress? And he flatly admitted that gerrymandering was going to help them. So being very, very open about how putting their thumb on the scale and drawing districts to suit them is what's going to help them keep their majority. And so that's what we're fighting against, and it's too bad, but we're going to do it.
Update for our listeners. We're going to be talking about gerrymandering on the podcast next week. And I think Ohio is one of the cases that we're going to look at because there are these. My parents live in the 16th district in northeastern Ohio, and it is very strange looking.
There are some really interesting districts out there.
Yeah, for sure. So you have this interesting campaign video on your website, and I remember watching it at the time when it came out where you're making pancakes.
Right, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about, sort of where that idea came from and why you think that is representative of something that you bring?
Thanks. Yeah, that was a fun video to do. It was great because it was just a really real expression of the kind of campaign that we're trying to run. We want to hold Representative Stivers to account, but we also want people to know that I'm a guy with a service past that is here to work for people in Ohio, and I'm a family guy. It's just that my family is a little bit different. Like I said in the video, we're kind of a modern family. Yeah. The video shows me and my husband making pancakes with our two little girls. They're 6 and 9. They had a ball doing the video. I think they did a pretty good job. And it just shows that we're a modern Ohio family that really cares about what happens to our communities. And we just really want to do better for everyone. It drives me crazy to think about families and communities like ours being left behind throughout the district. And, I got to tell you, when you look to the future and you see what's coming in terms of changes, more changes to our energy economy and more changes to the information economy, the shift to renewable energy, the shift in terms of automation and artificial intelligence, all those changes that are coming that are scary and, full of opportunity. But also, we've seen what happens in the past when the economy changes and our communities get left behind. And I don't want to see that happen again. And so, the whole message of the video is that I'm a fighter. I'm someone who has a lifetime of service and advocacy for people. And I want to bring that to bear in making sure that all of our communities in the 15th district, that we're able to help them make a fair and just transition to this new economy that's coming.
What are some of the ways that you think that can happen, that the families can really be helped in that transition? There are lots of kinds of jobs that have historically been in Ohio that are not going to continue to be there. Factory work and steel mills, and I don't know the 15th district as well. But, how can Congress really help that transition?
Well, I think by making sure that, what's there is protected and strengthened. So, our farming communities are very important. And that's why, what's happening right now is alarming. And I think that there definitely is a way to make sure that we have fair trade and strong trade and to hold trade partners like China to account when they try to cheat. And yet do that in a way that does not hurt our farmers and our farming communities. And so to strengthen those communities and also to take the manufacturing and the energy experience of communities in this district and help them make that transition to, the new manufacturing that is available if we fight for it and if you have someone to advocate for it. So I'll give an example. There's a company here or a company working here that is working on a major solar array to bid with a utility company to provide power to the grid. And, their commitment is to keeping those jobs and as much of that manufacturing as possible here. And, I want to help make that happen because, there's a terrific workforce here, people who want to work. I think we just need to build on that. A big thing that I think about a lot is in terms of an infrastructure program that's going to help people get back to work and help bring those better paying jobs to this district is not just traditional infrastructure in terms of roads and bridges and sewage systems and water systems, but also the digital infrastructure that we're going to need to help communities make that fair and just transition that I was talking about. Some of that digital infrastructure is in place, but is not being used because I think communities haven't had the help that they need to attract the service providers that are actually going to use that infrastructure and get the connections, out to home, so that even just regular broadband access is an issue for some communities in the 15th district, much less the digital infrastructure that we're going to need for the connectivity that's going to be required in the future. And so, all those put together, I think, is how we help communities make that transition. Add on to that workforce development. We have a terrific existing infrastructure of not just obviously well-regarded four-year public universities like Ohio University, which is in the district, and the Ohio State University, which is just outside the district, but a lot of faculty and students live inside the 15th, but also, a terrific network of vocational schools and community colleges using that and strengthening that to provide the workforce development that folks are going to need. The main part about jobs and about helping people is also working on the minimum wage. And I am for raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. I think that's a way that we're going to be able to break the logjam of wage stagnation and get that process going. We have to do more to make sure that the work that people are doing, not just in the 15th district, but across the state and across the country, that work is properly valued. And as strong as my commitment is to that, I also have a commitment to our small business owners to making sure that they can weather that change as well. So what I hope that you're hearing is that, I understand that public policy and understand that legislation affects different communities in different ways. And I am not a one-size-fits-all kind of guy. My experience working with communities all over the world has been, you have to listen, you have to be smart in how you do things, and you can't just let policy benefit one group and ignore the negative consequences, if there are any, for another. You have to look at the totality of it and do what you can to make sure that it's a fair transition for everybody.
Can you talk about how you apply those to education? So we're seeing a lot of teacher strikes going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Education is very important. You have school-aged children yourself. What are the kinds of things that Ohio should be doing that it's not currently doing for its teachers?
A lot of education policy like that is set at the state level. And, at the federal level, my commitment is certainly to have someone at the head of the Department of Education who knows what she's doing and is not there to destroy the legacy of public education in this country. I think, though, to go back to the question of workforce development and just higher education in general, I think it's appalling that we expect, that there is a general expectation for kids like, do well in high school and you're going to go on to college. And, then that's going to unlock certain opportunities and give you the freedom to start living the life that you want, except with a little asterisk, except that you're going to be burdened with this unbelievable amount of debt. We need to change that. That is a choice that America can afford to make, to expand Pell Grants and expand other kinds of assistance, as well as, looking at the possibility of making two-year community colleges, making those degree program tuition free. And so it really, again, there's just so many parts of our economy and so many parts of so this part of the education system, the way the healthcare system is out of whack, there's so much here that we need to change so that people can use these systems the way that they need to lead the lives that they want, so that they can get through their education and lead the life that they want without being saddled by debt, that they can get the health care that they and their children need without having to go to the ER or go bankrupt. This is what our society is for. This is what our government's for. It's to figure out how to help people realize their dreams, not put roadblocks in their way.
Mm-hmm. And then the last question I have for you is just whether you feel that you've faced any either outright discrimination or just problems running as an openly LGBTQ candidate. We had an episode last week where we were talking about how very few out LGBTQ senators and congressmen there are still, the representation is just so low. And so I'm just wondering if that has been something that, you've sort of been conscious of as you've been running for